Hello and welcome to everyone to today's session of Storytime at 9. You just saw images of the Bakul Library in Bhubaneswar in Satyanagar. I hope many of you have been there. Unfortunately, because of COVID, the library is closed now, but I hope when the library reopens, you could have seen that there are thousands of books, in fact, about 20,000 books, including some of the wonderful best books for children of all ages. So I hope you'll come down. And you also saw images of the storytelling from around the world, which used to happen at our library earlier physically, where storytellers from different countries used to come and tell stories about their country and from their country. So you get to know about other countries. But now that we cannot travel, the library is closed, we are bringing them to you on your digital screens. But as you know, it's going to be for 50 weeks where there are storytellers from 50 different countries coming. And today we are very happy that today being our Independence Day, we have India being featured today. And we have one of the finest storytellers of India, Nupur Aggarwal. Nupur is there. Nupur is from Hyderabad. She's based in Hyderabad right now. She's associated with a group called the Storywalas, which are very famous for their storytelling, and she's a professional storyteller. Now, what I mean by that is she actually tells stories for a living. That's her job, right? So it is not just that she's coming and telling you stories, So she is, people actually pay to listen to her, right? So we are very happy that Nupur is there. Now, when Nupur announced that she was going to tell stories in Storytime at 9, she asked everyone, because she's going to tell a story about freedom today and what freedom means. She had asked a question and many of you had responded as to what freedom means to you. Now, I would like to say the way I understand freedom, and many of us at Bakul here understand freedom. Just to tell you, of course, that Bakul Foundation is basically a volunteer-led organization. Everyone here volunteers. So this library that you see, the books that you see, all of it has been donated by people like you, by children, who have outgrown certain books or who would want their books to be read by others. So all the books are donated, all the people volunteer. So Storytime at 9 is also run through volunteers. So Nupur is also volunteering today. So are the other storytellers. As in volunteering, as in they're not taking any money for it. They just want to share the love of stories that they have with all of you and want to share their knowledge and experience with you. But having said that, as I said, so for a lot of us, we understand freedom also as education. Now, how would, there was a famous educationist, Paulo Freire, who said education is freedom. Now, how would education be freedom? But of course, you need to understand that we celebrate our Independence Day today because today is the day we got freedom from the British. So freedom and independence also go hand in hand. They're not necessarily the same, but they go together. So what freedom really means is if you can be independent of others. And so that is one way in which we understand it, and definitely the way I understand it. And being independent means not being dependent on others to get your way around things. And that is what education gives you. And that is the important role of a library. We often get the purpose of education wrong. We think that the purpose of education is knowledge, is information. No, you already have the internet, right, for that. But the purpose of education, as a lot of people would say, is actually to create independent learners, to in a way make you free, okay, that you can do whatever you want. You are not in any binds. That is what is the purpose of education, to create independent learners. And that is the role of a library. A library is important because it creates independent learners, right? You can go to a library and read whatever. I can still read Diary of a Wimpy Kid or my Amar Chitra Katha or other comics, right? Similarly, technology, also enables you to be free, to access education. Now imagine all of you are able to participate in this storytelling session because you have either a laptop or a computer or some digital device, a smartphone on which you're seeing. But are you aware that 1 out of 2 children in India do not actually have that? So research says that 56% of children in India do not have access to a smartphone. Now you have your online classes, but how do they have their education? And that now, of course, school is closed, whether it is a government school or a private school. And that is why this Independence Day, we are launching a campaign, Bakul is launching a campaign where we are asking people to donate any smartphone that they have which is usable, but which is not being used by you. Please donate it, for a child can actually be able to enable education through that. So I'll just run the promo of we are launching this campaign today, and we hope to have support of all of you. We'll just see this little video and then come back to Nupur's storytelling. Thank you, Habu.
Give me freedom, give me fire, give me home, take me higher. Give me freedom, give me fire, give me home, take me higher.
So for those of you who missed it, I mean, of course, I hope you love the lines. Give me freedom, give me fire, give me a phone, take me higher, right? So don't worry, if you missed the address, the contact details, we'll share it at the end of the storytelling session again. But before that, it is Nupur's day today. So Nupur is, as I said, one of the finest storytellers that we have in India. But then, before Nupur tells stories, I would request Nupur to tell her personal story, to tell us about herself and also her journey as a storyteller, and then we'll move to her stories. Nupur, welcome to Bakul and Storytime at 9.
Thank you so much, Sujit and team at Bakul Foundation for inviting me to be a part of Storytime at 9. I'm really excited and looking forward to this session. So, I would begin by sharing, my experience at Bakul Foundation. So when I look at Bakul Foundation and I look at Sujit and his team, I remember Gandhi's quote, Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "Be the change you want to see." And I think the entire team at Bakul is living by it every moment. So my association with Bakul Foundation has not been long, but it doesn't seem so. Before, in the pre-COVID era, whenever I would visit Bhubaneswar, I would always think that I'll just drop by, I would just go and see Bakul Library. And then just before one such visit, I called Sujit and I told him that next time when I'm in Bhubaneswar, I would want to come and see your library. And if you allow me, I would also like to share some stories. And very graciously, he accepted and he invited me to share stories in the lovely space that he and his team has created. So I remember that evening, when I stood outside the library and I looked at that little house, my first thought was, it looks like a quaint little place. And when I went inside the library, when I stepped into the library, I had a twinkle in my eyes. I was like, that space looked so bright. And I hate boring libraries. I hate those libraries where the libraries that we would access in our childhood. I hated growing up. I hated those libraries. And now when I was inside the library, which looked so colorful and had books here, there, everywhere, it was truly a reader's paradise. Every little nook and corner of the library was utilized beautifully, very creatively. And what really impressed me was the performance space that they had created. And those graffitis that were there on each and every wall in that performance space. And I remember that evening when I looked at those graffitis, I was like, okay, I was so greedy. I thought, which one should I have as my backdrop for this storytelling session? I was so excited. But then there were some lighting concerns and all, and they told me to stand against a particular backdrop, which was also very beautiful. And that story session at Bakul Library that day turned out to be one of the best story sessions I've ever had. Because a storyteller derives his or her energy from the audience and from the space around. And both the audience and the space very generously gifted me that energy that day. And I had a memorable performance. So thank you so much, Sujit. And actually that evening didn't end there. I was treated to some yummy Udiya food. And whenever after that I've gone to Bakul Library, Sujit has been very generous to take me out for a lovely Udiya meal. So that's my experience of Bakul Library. And Sujit asked me to talk a little bit about, my personal life and my journey. Uh, so I would like to share that I was born and brought up in Kolkata, and I grew up in a joint family. I was the youngest of three siblings. So I did my schooling in Kolkata. I did my graduation from Jadavpur University in dietetics and applied nutrition. And then sometime early 2000, it was 2002 that I moved to Bombay for my post-graduation. I spent a year and a half there, and then I came back to Kolkata. I took up a job of a dietitian in a hospital. I worked for a couple of years. I got married. I had my first child. And after her birth, I actually quit my job and I opened up a obesity clinic because I wanted to help people lose weight. I wanted to counsel them to eat right. So that continued again for a couple of years. And then 2012, as a family, we moved to Bangalore, and where I was pregnant once again with my second child. And it was at that time I paused. I decided to take a break from all that I have been doing over the years. I did not know what next, but I knew that I wanted a break from all that I had been doing. Because, setting up a clinic in a new city, building up a new clientele, being outside home, being away from family in the mornings, evenings, and on weekends was not easy. But I had no clue what I would be doing. But I wasn't worried. Now, back then in 2012, storytelling in India wasn't as prominent as it is today, but Bangalore was a hub of storytellers. A lot of storytelling events would happen. And I had never heard of storytelling and storytellers as such, because we had just grown up listening to stories from our grandparents, from our parents, but going and listening to a storyteller, from a professional storyteller, I'd never heard before. So I started taking my daughter to such events. And whenever I would sit in the audience and listen to the storyteller, oh, it was totally a transforming experience for me. I was mesmerized. And after a couple of such sessions, I decided to give this art form a try. I enrolled myself for a course in Kathalaya, and immediately after the course, I started getting some independent assignments. I was very, very happy. It was exciting, and it was something that I felt passionate about. 6 months into this, I joined Storywalas, and I've been with them ever since. So I mainly work with schools now. I help teachers to become better storytellers to children, to use the power of stories in the classroom. I help them to discover the power of personal narratives. I do a lot of performance storytelling for children. And I'll talk a little bit more about my work a little later. So just a quick slide share I would like to do, just to give you a glimpse into my childhood. So this is where I was born and brought up, in West Bengal, in Kolkata. And then I moved to Bangalore, and right now I'm Telangana in Hyderabad. And this is a picture from my childhood. This is me and my sister, my brother, and my parents. And this is me again with my sister and my brother, and my two little girls with me. Some of our pictures from our earlier travels. And this is my family at Storywalas. So that's it. So I'll stop the screen share. And yeah. So today's theme is stories from India. And the first story that I want to share today is a story that comes from the homeland of Tansen. It's a folk tale from Madhya Pradesh. So once upon a time, a long time ago, in a certain village in Madhya Pradesh, Everyone loved to sing. They would sing, they would hum all day long. They would sing while bathing. They would sing while cooking. They would sing while cleaning. They would sing while walking to work. They would sing, and they would sing some more. And now in the same village, there lived a woman named Lakshmi. And Lakshmi did not know how to sing. And Lakshmi wanted to sing. So one day Lakshmi went to her friend Shakuntala, and Lakshmi told Shakuntala, you all sing so well, you sing all day. Why don't you teach me how to sing? Now Shakuntala loved to tease people. She looked at Lakshmi and said, Lakshmi, you want to learn how to sing? It's very simple. All you need to do is go to the market and buy yourself a song. And once you have the song, you can just sing it. Simple. Now Lakshmi believed all that she heard. And she ran home to her brother. And she said, Bhaiya, you know what? I can sing. All I need is a song. So Bhaiya, please go to the market and get me an expensive song, a nice, beautiful song. Bhaiya, please go right away. Now Lakshmi's brother looked at Lakshmi and said, are you sure? A song? A song you want me to buy for you from the market? Yes, Bhaiya, that's what my friend has told me. Songs are available in the market. You just have to go and pick one. Now, Lakshmi's brother didn't want to disappoint Lakshmi. He just picked up the shopping bag and some money and he went. He reached the market, and the first shop he entered was a shop that sold rice. And when he asked the shopkeeper to give him or to show him the song list, the shopkeeper was amused. He looked at his son, he winked, and then he looked back at Lakshmi's brother and said, wish you had arrived earlier. You know, we are totally sold out. But Lakshmi's brother did not give up. He went over to the next shop, and that shop was a vegetable shop. And when he asked the shopkeeper to show the song list, the shopkeeper frowned and he said, what do you think? Where have you come? This is a shop which sells potatoes and onions and tomatoes and lettuce fingers and brinjal and this and that. We do not sell songs. So he hopped over to the next shop and the next and the next, and soon he understood that none of the shops in the market sold songs. So he felt sad, not for himself, but for Lakshmi, because she was eagerly waiting for a song. He was just walking home when he spotted a rat. That rat was digging a hole in the ground. And as the rat was digging a hole in the ground, the rat made a sound, karr, 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 with his sharp claws. And when Lakshmi's brother stood there looking at the rat, he got an idea. He got the first line of a song that he wanted to compose for Lakshmi. So the first line of the song he thought could be, Khode kharar kharar, Khode kharar kharar. Oh, that sounded good. He was now happy. He was excited. And when he was walking, when he walked a little ahead, he stopped. For he had spotted a snake slithering by. And when he saw the snake slithering by, he had another idea. He got the second line of the song, which was Sar ke sarar sarar. One more time. Sar ke sarar sarar. So he had now two lines. Khode kharar kharar. Sar ke sarar sarar. Oh, he was relieved. At least he was going back home with a song. And just then he spotted a rabbit who was looking at him from behind a tree. And when he spotted the rabbit looking at him, he got the third line of the song, which was Dekhe tagar magar, Dekhe Tagar Magar. For the rabbit was looking Tagar Magar. So he was quite happy, quite satisfied with those 3 lines. He was about to reach home when once again he spotted another animal. And this time it was a deer who was jumping in the grass. When he spotted the deer, he got the 4th line of the song, which was Kude alang falang. One more time. Kude alang falang. So now Lakshmi's brother was literally a songwriter. 4 lines he had written just like that. So can we repeat that song before he reaches home? So let's begin. Khode kharar kharar. So can you all repeat with me now? Khode kharar kharar. As the second line. Sar ke sarar sarar. With me. Sar ke sarar sarar. Dekhe tagar magar. One more time. Dekhe tagar magar. And the last line. Kude alang falang. Last time. Kude alang falang. Oh, he was happy and he was confident that Lakshmi too would love the song. And when he reached home, and Lakshmi opened the door. Bhaiya, what happened? Did you find the song? Of course, Lakshmi, I found the song. A very beautiful song and the most expensive too. Bhaiya, I love you. Can you sing the song for me? Please, Bhaiya, quickly, I want to hear it. And Lakshmi's brother sang the song. So let's join him. Khode kharar kharar. Sar ke sarar sarar. Dekhe tagar magar. Kude alam falam. Oh, Lakshmi was so happy with the song. Oh, she gave her brother a tight hug. And soon it was time to go to bed. The brother went to bed. But Lakshmi, no matter how hard she tried, she couldn't sleep a wink. And that's natural, right? When we have something exciting to look forward to, we hardly get any sleep. So Lakshmi got up and she went into the kitchen and she decided that she would practice her song a couple of more times because she wanted to sing it to her friends the very next day. So she had some corn to grind. So she sat and she started grinding the corn. And at the same time, she started rehearsing her song. Now, as she sat in the kitchen, singing her song, two thieves tried to sneak into her house. The door was locked. The windows were all shut. So the 2 thieves, they started drilling a hole in the wall. And when they drilled the hole in the wall, it made a sound, karr, karr. And just at that moment, Lakshmi sang the first line of the song, Khode kharar kharar. One more time, Khode kharar kharar. And the thieves stopped. Who is it? Is someone watching us? But then, a moment or two later, they started crawling through the hole they had dug, and Lakshmi sang the second line of the song, Sarke sarar sarar. Sarke sarar sarar. The thieves stopped and they started looking sideways. Who's watching us? And Lakshmi sang the third line of the song just then. Dekhe tagar magar. Dekhe tagar magar. Bas. Now the thieves were sure that someone has definitely spotted them. They were so nervous, they started jumping, and Lakshmi sang the fourth line and the final line of the song, Kude alang falang. Kude alang falang. Bas. Now though the thieves, they ran back through that hole without robbing the house. And Lakshmi was just not aware of what her song had done. Now, she slept eventually. The next morning, when Lakshmi's brother woke up, he discovered that hole in the wall. He looked all around the house. Everything seemed to be okay. And then he asked Lakshmi, "Hey Lakshmi, what were you doing last night?" And Lakshmi said, Bhaiya, I was just grinding the corn and I was practicing my song. And just then Lakshmi's brother, understood that it was the song that drove the thieves away last night. And when he told that to Lakshmi, they both laughed. Finally, the powerful song, had done some magic. Both the brother and the sister, they sat down with their cup of tea. And Lakshmi couldn't wait to tell her friends how, how powerful a song can be when it is sung at the right time. So that was a folk tale from Madhya Pradesh. So now I have a question for you. What do you think? Lakshmi and her brother felt that a song can be very powerful if it is sung at the right time. So, what do you think? What are your thoughts on this? I would love to hear from you. So, type your comments on the chat screen.
Yeah. So, everyone, please, where you're commenting, please give your response to what Nupur asked right now. What do you think about that? And we'll discuss. Not anything else, because just answer the question that Nupur asked.
And till we hear from our audience, Ajit, I also had to share something that when I was working on this story, and I just had a thought that actually it's true. A song which is sung at the right time can work wonders. For example, parents often sing lullabies to put their children to sleep. Yeah,
Nupur, you want to repeat your question? I think
sure.
they have not probably got. Yeah.
Okay. So my question is that, do you think a song sung at the right time can be powerful? Yeah. So to go back to the story, when Lakshmi sang the song, her song drove the thieves away. So what do you think? Can a song be so powerful to make a difference? So
Yes.
we have been getting answers, Sujit. Some people have said, yes, of course. They agree, the song is powerful. All right. Okay.
Yeah. You want to read out the responses now, or you were just saying something? I interrupted you.
No worries. I was just saying, Sujit, that when I was working with this story, I had this thought that it is true that a song, when it is sung at the right time, actually can work wonders. So, for example, parents, why do they sing lullabies to their children? To calm them down, to put them to sleep, to make them happy, right? So, if it can just uplift anyone's mood. So, I think a song can be very powerful. So,
I think a song is very good. In fact, I'll tell you a very interesting thing. As you were telling the story, I just got a video from Kayashi's mom. So Kaya was singing along with you. So her mom took a video of that and shared it. So in fact, this is for all our viewers here. If you have any photos of yourself participating in the story as Nupur was telling the story, or singing along a video or a photo, then please feel free to share on our Facebook page or YouTube, below in the comments box where you're writing in. And we'll be very happy to see, and it'll be good for others to also see. Now we can see some responses. Nupur, you want to look at that?
Yeah, there's so many coming in that when I pick one to read out, it's already gone because there are 10 more responses.
I'll highlight some. There's one here.
Yeah, I agree with Jasmita.
There's another here from Pranshu.
This is Pranshu, similar to the song sung at the right time, driving away the thief. If you can say the right thing at the right time to people who are sad, you can cheer them. Thank you so much, Pranshu. Thank you for such a beautiful thought.
This is what Sanjukta
says
Yes.
that a small song can win many hearts. Yes, Samyukta. All right. Can we please sing it along? Says Kavita. Most welcome, Kavita. We would love you to chime in. Uh,
I was just looking at uh, something that is another here.
Fatima says it can make a person feel better and more powerful. And okay, a song is very powerful. I have somebody writing in Swati S, and she says that songs are powerful in bringing the right emotions related to the song. Yes, yes. Songs are nothing but stories, and they do trigger our emotions. Swarnlata, thank you so much. You've understood the story correctly. It is for the song that the robbers ran away. Okay, Sujit, shall we move on?
Yes,
Okay.
I think. Just to tell everyone, it's very difficult for us to show all of them. But then I hope you understand that, we have to. But so happy that you responded so fast. And this is another by Rabindranath. And yeah, let's move ahead. We
Okay.
can look at them later. Yeah.
21st May 2013. She stood on top of the world's highest peak, hoisting the Indian tricolor. She conquered Mount Everest with a prosthetic leg, and with that, she became the world's first female amputee to do so. I'm talking about Arunima Sinha. Her story is moving, her story is inspiring, and her story is full of hope and positivity. So, what is Arunima Sinha's story? Here on. Arunima Sinha grew up in Ambedkar Nagar near Lucknow in Uttar Pradesh. Her entire family was interested in sports. Arunima herself would cycle a lot, she would play football, basketball, and was a national volleyball player. But in spite of being so good in sports, she never thought of a career in same. She wanted to join paramilitary forces. And then, early in 2011, she got a call to appear for an examination to enter or to join CISF. Arunima was very excited. She was now a step closer to realizing her dream of joining the forces. And this exam for which she was called was to be held in Delhi. So on 11th April 2011, Arunima boarded the train from Lucknow, the train which was to take her to Delhi. Except that she never reached her destination. Luck wasn't traveling with her that night. As soon as the train started, some robbers tried to snatch her gold chain. Arunima put up a brave fight. She later said that being a sportsman, she just put the strongest defense possible. But soon the robbers started hitting her. She too kicked, she too, punched them. But soon she was overpowered. And these robbers, 5 of them, just lifted her and threw her out of the running train. And not just that, Arunima collided with another passing train before she landed on the tracks. And when both the trains passed, Arunima, who was still conscious, tried to get up, only to realize that one of her leg was hanging loose in her denim. She knew she had lost a leg. She cried for help, but no one came. It was later discovered that that night 49 trains had passed that spot. She felt lifeless. She was in pain. She was bleeding all night. But no one came to her rescue. The next morning, some locals spotted her lying on the railway track, and they soon, got her to the nearest hospital. But that hospital lacked the basic medical facilities. And the doctors and the nurses, they were shocked to see her condition. And they decided to amputate Arunima's leg without anesthesia. Yes, I repeat, they decided to amputate her leg without anesthesia. So you can imagine a small mosquito bite, a small cut here or there, a little bruise. It just makes us so restless, right? We want to feel normal right away. And here was a 23-year-old witnessing the amputation of her leg. What pain she must have felt. Soon the word got around and she was shifted to AIIMS in Delhi. She just lay there. People started sympathizing with her. They started showing their concern. They started feeling sorry for her. Even she was devastated initially. But then she just wiped off her tears and she gave herself courage. Lying in that hospital bed, she gifted herself a dream. She decided to go for mountaineering, a sport much tougher than basketball, volleyball, football. She decided that she would climb Mount Everest. Any ordinary person, believe me, would, under such adverse conditions, under such adversity, would just give up his or her spirit. But this lady, Arunima Sinha, was truly an iron lady. She decided to embrace life with renewed energy and hope. And after 4 months, spending 4 months in AIIMS after that when she got discharged, she straight away went to meet Bachendri Pal. Bachendri Pal was the first Indian woman who had climbed Mount Everest way back in 1984. So she sat in front of Bachendri Pal with a prosthetic leg and iron rods fitted in another leg, and she told her story. She shared with Bachendri Pal her dream of climbing Mount Everest. Bachendri Pal sat still, listening to Arunima's story. And when Arunima finished, she just looked at Arunima and said, "My child, with a prosthetic leg, you've gifted yourself a dream of climbing Mount Everest. Let me tell you, you've already conquered Mount Everest. What remains is the date for the world to know." Arunima says that Bachendri Pal was the only person outside her own family who believed her, who trusted her. And thus began Arunima's training. Recalling her initial training days, Arunima says that it was very difficult. Her legs would bleed, they would hurt. And people around her, instead of encouraging her, they would look at her in disbelief and they would advise her to go back to quit mountaineering. But Arunima was an iron lady. She knew that she is physically handicapped, but she is not a handicap here. Her mind is not a handicap. And she wanted to conquer Mount Everest, not with her legs, but with her mind. So she worked very hard. And after months of training and preparation, she started on the most important journey of her life, her ascent to Mount Everest. And once again, she faced a lot of hurdles. Arunima says that at times her fingers would freeze, they would bleed. And at one point, her prosthetic leg came out. Sometimes she would just slip from the ice. She wouldn't be able to take a step forward. And it's shocking, but it's true that once she ran out of oxygen. She thought that she's going to just die. But she overcame all the hurdles. And the dream that she had gifted herself 4 months back lying in the hospital bed, She made that come true. She conquered Mount Everest on 21st May 2013 at the age of 25. And with that, she turned her life story into a success story. Well, she didn't stop at that. She went on to climb the highest peak across all the continents and set a world record for it. She won several awards for her achievement, Padma Shri being one of them. Arunima Sinha has now dedicated her entire life towards social cause. She runs a sports academy where she trains people with disabilities and with economic hardships. It's like she had that madness, that pagalpan, I would say, to do something so difficult, to achieve the unachievable. A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes, said Mahatma Gandhi, and Arunima Sinha proved it. And when I was working on this story, on Arunima's biography, and when I came across this word that she was really mad, she had that junoon, that pagalpan, it reminded me of a poem written by my friend, mentor, and the founder of Storywalas, Mr. Amin Haq. He wrote a beautiful poem, and allow me to recite just a few lines from his poem. आओ आओ थोड़ा पागल हो जाएं हम, आओ थोड़ा पागल हो जाएं हम, तेज हवा से लड़ जाएं हम. You can repeat that with me. आओ थोड़ा पागल हो जाएं हम, तेज हवाओं से लड़ जाएं हम. आओ थोड़ा पागल हो जाएं हम. आओ पैसों को ललचाएं, आओ पैसों को ललचाएं, उससे उल्टी दिशा को जाएं. आओ पैसों को ललचाएं, उससे उल्टी दिशा को जाएं. गर रास्ते में वो मिल जाए तो उसे कर दे टाटा बाय बाय. गर रास्ते में वो मिल जाए तो उसे कर दे टाटा बाय बाय. आओ थोड़ा पागल हो जाए हम, आओ थोड़ा पागल हो जाए हम, तेज हवाओं से लड़ जाए हम. आसमान के सारे तारे, आसमान के सारे तारे अपनी जेब में भर कर लाएं. आसमान के सारे तारे अपनी जेब में भर कर लाएं. तारों से कंचे खेलेंगे, तारों से कंचे खेलेंगे, चांद हमारा स्ट्राइकर होगा. ये कोई सपना नहीं है, ये कोई सपना नहीं है, इस बेमानी से सपने को आओ सच कर कर दिखाएं. आओ जिद पर अड़ जाएं, आओ थोड़ा पागल हो जाएं. So that's a beautiful poem that's written by Amin Haq. Surely this girl, Arunima Sinha, had that pagalpan. Otherwise, it is impossible to achieve what she achieved. And that pagalpan was exhibited. That pagalpan, our freedom fighters and all those people who struggled for freedom had that madness. Else today, we wouldn't be celebrating the 74th year of our independence. Over to you, Sujit.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, आओ थोड़ा पागल हो जाएं. Lovely, lovely lines and lovely story. I mean, the story of Arunima Sinha. I hope all the children there know the meaning of prosthetic leg. If you do not, I'm sure you have guessed by now that it's an artificial leg, right? Because she lost her real leg. So that's an artificial leg that she had. So as most of you know, now is the time for questions and answers. So I can see that most of the children here seem to have been really inspired by the story. And they've all been writing comments about how they found the story. But now there are some children who've already asked questions, which I'll be asking to Nupur and she will respond to them. But if any of you have further questions, please feel free to write down in the comment box and then we'll ask Nupur. But before I take it to you, Nupur, there are three at least who seem to have asked about what is the meaning of Bakul. So Vaishnavi, Sophia and Rashmi are asking what is the meaning of Bakul. So I'll just answer that and then I'll share the questions that the others are asking to you. Bakul is the name of a tree. In Sanskrit, it is the Bakula tree. In Odia, we also call it the Bakula. We also call it the Boula Gacha, the Boula tree. So it's a beautiful tree which has a wonderful fragrance to it, and it's like an umbrella. It's a perfect canopy. So it's very popular in parks and in other places. But the reason why Bakul took the name of Bakul is not just because it is a tree, but because, it's good that this question was asked today on the Independence Day. The founding fathers of Odisha are great freedom fighters. Like the Gandhi of Odisha was Gopabandhu Das. So Gopabandhu and his friends, they had started a school in a Bakula Bana or a Bakul Van Mein. They had started a school, and it was called the Bakula Bana Vidyalaya, Bakul Van Vidyalaya. And the idea behind the school was not just to teach children, but to create the future leaders of the state. And that we found that story very inspirational. Like Nupur shared the story of Arunima Sinha today, we found the story of the Bakul Van Vidyalaya very inspirational, and that is why we gave the name Bakul to our movement. I like to call Bakul not an organization, but a movement to demonstrate what can happen when people like us get together, right? So now to Nupur. Nupur, there are questions, that people have asked. Of course, first, I would like to share a very non-technical question. There are a lot of questions about storytelling that children have asked, but Vaishnavi and Samaptika are asking, how did you spend your Independence Day during this lockdown period? What did you do today?
Okay, what did I do today? I rehearsed a lot for this session. So, jokes apart. So, it's been raining a lot in Hyderabad. So, we've been, been just enjoying the good weather. The temperatures have dropped down. So, having nice hot pakoras. I started my day with hot pakoras for breakfast. And then, why I'm talking about food right away is because I'm a big foodie. And then lunch was hot rasam with rice. And then evening I spent rehearsing, gathering my thoughts, putting my thoughts together for this session. And now I'm here with you all.
Okay. So, Pranshu is asking, how do you decide which story to tell?
Pranshu, I love this question. So thank you so much for bringing this up. So when I have to, conduct a session, I receive certain inputs from the host. Okay. So if the host is working on a theme, I might just get a theme from the host. Like, for example, Sujit told me that it has to be stories from India. So that narrows down my research. So I start looking for stories from India. Then the other input that I received from Sujit was that the story should be for children mainly. Children should be able to relate to the story. So that again was another input, which I took into account when I was doing my research. So I was looking for stories from India, stories that would appeal to children. And then when I started reading the stories, there's some stories that really I could relate to. I just felt that this is a story that I would like to share. So most of the storytellers believe that it's not the storyteller that picks the story, it's the story that picks the teller. And it actually happens. I thought, when I started thinking about today's Bakul session, I thought of several stories from India. But then it was as late as yesterday that I decided that no, this is the story that I would like to tell. Why did I do that? Some things are, they remain a mystery. But to sum it all, the age of the audience, the language that audience understand, the theme of the session, what kind of style you want to tell the story in. So right now I know that it's a visual platform that I'll be sharing my story. So I choose to tell a story in a certain way. But if I were with you all physically, then maybe I would have got a lot of movements in my storytelling. So these are certain considerations that you have to keep in mind when you select a story.
Yeah. So Rachita is asking, how do you make a boring story interesting? And in fact, maybe you can add to it and talk about, what you do. I mean, I mean, when you tell a story, you don't just tell the story as you read it, right? So,
That's
how do you make a story interesting, even if it is not boring? Rachita is, of course, worried about boring stories.
Rashita, thank you again for asking that question, and I would love to answer that. You cannot just pick a story from a book and tell it. That everybody can do. But as storytellers, we have an added responsibility to make it engaging, right? So that the audience, find that story. Uh, we can immerse them, and give them a good experience, by sharing that story. So when I have to work on a story, I will work on the voice modulation. I will think, where will I pause, what kind of a speed, I'm going to choose to tell the story. Will I give the characters a distinct voice, or will I be narrating the story in my own voice? Then how much of dramatization I'm going to bring in? Do my stories need props? For example, I've got this interesting puppet with me. So this is a puppet, and I brought it into the story because, when you turn it upside down, it reveals a different character. Okay, so can I bring a prop into the story? Will it enhance the listener's experience? Okay, so these are some of the considerations that I bring in, and I try to work with these factors to turn a story into an interesting one.
So, Kokul is asking, how did you come to love storytelling and who is your mentor? And Sagnik is also asking to, you to tell a little about your journey as a storyteller, some interesting experiences or
Okay.
insights.
So each one of us, I believe, has a storyteller within us. Yeah, we just have to get in touch with the storyteller who resides within us. Of course, you have to find your own voice. Nobody can get into you and tell you to modulate your voice this way or that. Nobody's going to tell you that, oh, move your hand at this angle, or with your leg, or smile this much, or frown like this. Nobody can teach us that. So all that is a self-acquired skill. But having said that, each one of us in various fields, we have mentors. We watch them. We get inspiration from them. We get some direction from them. So a lot of people have been instrumental, in my journey as a storyteller. Amin Haq, who's the founder of Storywalas, I've learned a lot from him. I've learned a lot from senior storytellers who reside in India and abroad. I can name some of them. I love Jiva Ma'am's work. Geeta Ramanujan's work. There are people abroad like Bongiswa. I met her very recently, and I just loved her style of telling. And I love, Diane. I love Diane Parlate, who lives in US. So Roger Jenkins, who live in Singapore. So I usually watch their videos and I pick a tip or technique from here and there. Yeah, I've grown watching them.
So, Swarnalata is asking, but what made you choose this profession?
So, Nilata, I also do not know. It's just that whenever, as I said, back in 2012, whenever I would attend a story session, I did not know anything about storytelling back then. And it was the first time that I'd heard of storytelling, performance storytelling, professional storytellers. These were new terms for me. But whenever I was sitting in the audience, just like you are today, I would feel mesmerized. I would feel one with this art. I would think that this is something that I want to try. Because until unless you try, you don't know whether it's meant for you or not. And I just tried it, and it struck the right chord. I just I just got into storytelling, and I've been telling stories as if I've been doing that for ages. But it's just been 6, 7 years that I've been telling stories. It doesn't feel so. I just feel so connected to this art form. Yeah.
So, Mona Lisa is asking, what is your favorite part of storytelling?
My favorite part of storytelling is lending my voice to the story. I love modulating my voice. I love experimenting with my voice. So and I love movement a lot. Though with this virtual medium, I cannot move around. But if you see me in action, you would see that I move a lot when I tell stories. So I dramatize it a lot. But voice is my favorite part. I love to play with my voice when I prepare for a story.
So Aishwarya and Aditya are asking about your nervousness and stage fear.
Oh,
Do you
yes,
feel nervous? What do you
yes.
do?
You do feel a little nervous. There are butterflies in the stomach always before a session. I would have told a story 50 times, but when I go on the stage, uh, whenever I go on the stage, it feels like I'm going to tell this story for the first time, and I feel a little nervous. But the moment I start telling stories, it's just the stage and me. I have a crowd sitting in front of me, but somehow I am just there telling the story, and all that nervousness, anxiety, they just whoosh, vanish. Yeah.
Snehalata is asking how how do you see Indian storytellers as different from storytellers from other countries?
Uh, well, we all bring in our own flavors. We are deeply. What I have seen in modern storytellers is that they are trying to revive the traditional storytelling forms. So a lot of my colleagues and friends, I see them using a lot of dance and bringing dance movements and music into their telling, which probably is what makes it a little different from what we see. Uh, in storytellers who reside abroad, but then they have their own uniqueness. They come with their they come with their own ideas, and their culture has influenced their style of telling, and you get to see the best of both worlds.
Uh, so Prajakta is asking, what do you mean? What is your understanding of the meaning of independence?
My okay, okay. So for me, freedom means you know just to be able to be yourself. To do what you want to do, to have a voice of your own. But I'm going to cut it very short. I just feel when I think about freedom, I feel I can do what I want to do. Now I should be allowed to do what I want to do, but with freedom comes responsibility. I should be, I should take accountability for my actions. I can say what I want, I can do what I want, but that should not hurt anyone. So that should not come in anyone's way. So that's what I think freedom is for me.
Okay. I think there are a few questions. I forget who all have asked that, but I think there are some who are asking about how to become a storyteller. What kind of tips do you have? Shreyansa is asking, what kind of stories do you enjoy telling? Um, and then, of course, uh, yeah, there are. If I find the names, I will tell you. But yeah, there were quite a few questions about uh, how any tips that you have for those who want to tell stories.
Okay. So I would say, okay, you also asked me what kind of stories I like to share.
Yeah.
So I like to share I share a lot of folk tales. So folk tales are stories, that talks about the belief, the custom, the tradition, the rituals, the culture of the place from where it originates. So I like to work a lot with folk tales because nobody owes folk tales. Who has written it, when was it written, we have no clue. So it's very easy to work with folk tales, to adapt it as per your own beliefs and culture and your tradition and your ideas. So it's easy to work with folk tales, and I find them it's really fun for me to work with them. So I share a lot of folk tales, not just from India, from across the world. And if I have to give you a tip or two on how to become a good storyteller, is that first try and find the storyteller who resides within you. It's very easy for you to try and copy someone, right? But that can never make you give a powerful performance. It's good to get inspired, to watch 10 storytellers, see their work, gain inspiration, but you have to find your own voice. You have to find the story that you like to tell. Because once you find the right story, once you find the story that you would want to tell, it just comes out so beautifully. So look for the story that you connect with and give it your voice, because voice is the first thing that always makes a story come alive. So give it your unique voice. I can go on and on actually, Sujit. I
Yeah, I think I saw so Amrita and Lalit had asked that question about tips on storytelling. There's someone who had asked about what is your profession, but as I think you've missed that, Nupur has been saying that her profession is that she's a professional storyteller. That's what she's talking about. Lavani and Shruti Ranjan are asking, how do you manage your personal and professional life?
Oh, well, it's not like a full-time 9 to 6 job. So, at times certain weeks are hectic with a lot of storytelling performances, and then you take a break. And I am a freelancer with Storywalas, so I take as much work as I can handle. Okay, so having said that, one week might get tough, so I might just take a break the next week, or I might just take a break for 1 month and not do any work. So really, I like being a freelancer. That's an advantage, and that helps me to balance.
Ah, so I think this, but just for everyone, you see the ticker box just below the screen at the end of the screen. Nupur has her own YouTube channel, Storyteller Nupur. So you can visit that her page on YouTube and listen to her stories. Many of you loved her stories, so you can always do that. I will just have a last question, and that is Sasmita has asked this, and also Priyabrata has asked about your role model and inspiration.
My role model and inspiration. Okay, so I derive my inspiration actually from a lot of storytellers who I love watching. Okay, and I've named them as my mentors. I have seen Roger Jenkins' work, Amin Haq, Jiva Raghunath, Lisa Ramanujan, Bongiswa, I mean, which has completely mesmerized me, Diane Ferlate, so these are some of the storytellers who are my favorite, and I watch their videos often to just learn the art better, to get some depth. Yeah.
Okay. So I think it was lovely having you over, Nupur. I know
Thank
we can go on and on and on. I can see that there are still lots of questions that children want to ask and they want you to answer. But I would still say, what we will do is, I think we have the questions there. We will try and respond to those questions after this. But we will have to end this session now. But once again, as I said, this story time at 9 is on every Saturday. And those of you who've been watching it on YouTube or Facebook or Twitter, on Instagram, we were live today, but we may not be live on Instagram each time. But some of you asked about whether it will be there on YouTube. Yes, each of the sessions is there on Facebook and YouTube. So you can go back to the session. You can share the session with your friends and others, family, whoever you want them to enjoy what you had today. You can do that. Please follow us, like us, subscribe to us on either YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, wherever you are watching, or on Instagram. And we'll be coming to you with more stories. And as I said, we launched a campaign today, which is about donating your unused old smartphone for children in need who can then access online classes with the help of those phones. So those of you who missed it, or if you want to see that again, we'll just run the ad of that campaign once again. We just launched it in Storytime at 9 today. Can we have the video?
Give me freedom, give me fire, give me hope, take me higher. Give me freedom, give me fire, give me hope, take me higher.
Okay, right. So that the last address and all, we'll be sharing it once again. so you would have no problems in reaching out to us. And if anyone wants to know a little more about Bakul, there's a short 2-minute video on Bakul. You can see it. And goodbye for now. It was great having all of you over with us, and hope you'll be there next Saturday and the subsequent Saturdays as well. Tata, bye-bye. Happy Independence Day once again. Okay, so Nupur, you can tell bye to the audience. Sorry, we couldn't do that earlier.
Thank you so much. I mean, it was I can't see you, but I can sense the enthusiasm with which you came for today's show. Love you all. Stay safe, and I hope that we all meet again. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.